Bienvenue au forum All Candidates Debate. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. It's our pleasure. My name is Terry Thibodeau. I am president of Atelier de Claire in the Maison Durand, which is our local adult day care or day center for clients, and as well as our residential home. Tonight we wanted to bring the candidates together in an opportunity to talk about issues for persons with disabilities and special needs. Voulait mettre les candidats ensemble pour en discuter des issues au courant pour des personnes avec des déficiences ou avec des special needs. En tout cas, je voulais juste mentionner comment est-ce que le forum va travailler. I'll just give an overview of the forum. If you gentlemen would like to have a seat there, that's fine, and we'll take it from there. Yes, I want to introduce my lovely assistant, Trudy Benjaveni, who's done a great deal in helping prepare for this evening and put a lot of effort into the questions and certainly the format. And I'm just going to describe a little bit about tonight's session and how it's going to work, and I'm going to pass it over to Trudy for a couple comments, and then we'll get right into it. So, essentially, we want to bring the candidates together to talk about persons with special needs and persons with disabilities in this effort just before the election, in an effort to hear what our potential, our new MLA is going to have to say on behalf of persons with special needs. So tonight's forum will take place as such. Beforehand, last week, all candidates received an information packet. So tous les candidats ont reçu une paquet d'informations sur les matériaux au sujet des personnes avec des déficiences. So we sent them 5 basically packages of information. One was on the UN Charter of Rights. The second was support services for persons with disabilities. The third issue we want to touch on was transportation. The fourth issue was housing. And the fifth issue was employment of social enterprise. So on pensait que ces 5 thèmes-là sont des thèmes principaux. Comment est-ce que les personnes avec des déficiences vivent quotidienne. So as it will go, we will ask the questions. So they received 5 questions in advance, and I think there's some of them that are out there right now. If you want a copy, there should be some in the audience here. Behind you is a list of how the session will go tonight in terms of timing. Each candidate will have 3-minute opening for their opening comments, and each candidate will receive 3 minutes for each question. Candidates will ask the question, can answer in English or French. We have somebody translating in French here for the English contingent here tonight. So les questions seront demandées en anglais, comme vous avez devant vous, puis vous pouvez répondre comme vous voulez in English or in French. It's in French, and then this is my wife, she'll translate into English. Okay? Sound good? Trudy.
Welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see a whole new group of our wonderful community present here. Sorry. Anyway, I appreciate that all of you are here now, and I think we should just get on with the show. We've got a good time and 3 wonderful candidates here to speak on behalf of the issues for persons with disabilities. Thank you all.
Okay, we're going to get right into it. So, I'm going to ask each candidate to give their opening remarks, and we'll start with Dean Kenley. Dean?
Bonjour. Comment ça va, everyone? How is everyone? First of all, I'd like to thank Terry, the facilitators, the organizers, and attendees in this college. Number one, you guys are very fortunate to have this kind of a facility here, this incredible building, and you're such a special community here to have this college right here in the heart. It's just amazing that what can be done here at this facility. My name is Dean Kenley, and I am the NDP candidate here for Claire Digby. This is my first time running, and I don't have a lot of background in politics. My background has been in business. So as far as this special needs goes, I didn't have a lot of skills in previous other than working through my business. So I've had to do a lot of research in a short period of time, and it's been a real eye-opener for me. However, what I have found is the NDP is one of the lead governments in programs for special needs. And I'm very proud to be representing here some of the programs. I have to do a bit of reading tonight because I do have a lot of information that's based on the programs that the NDP does offer. So bear with me, please. For many years, communities have been struggling to come up with programs and facilities to assist persons with disabilities in our region. In recent years, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which Canada is a signatory, have provided us with 8 specific guiding principles that our government have made a commitment to follow. Changes in policies have begun. Framework planning is underway, and a fluid stream of communication between the Department of Community Services and the community partners is continuing. Denise Patterson-Rayfuse, Minister of Community Services in Nova Scotia, is highly committed to make all the necessary changes to facilitate daily living for persons with disabilities and assist community groups to do so. I'm willing to work closely with her to ensure that the clients and partners in our riding receive the best service available. It is a great challenge to ensure that people are not suffering today, while at the same time we have to plan for the future while moving towards a system where people can have choices. We did not have choices in Nova Scotia because of the long-term neglect of past governments addressing assistance programs for people with disabilities in rural areas. It was not a priority for them, and the NDP started to change that. Before the NDP government, there was a real planning of support programs for people with disabilities. This resulted in long wait times and the need to be addressed before the infrastructures had not been built appropriately. The NDP is committed to change that, and I will work diligently with all our partners to facilitate the delivery of necessary services, programs, and housing to people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Candidate number 2, opening remarks, Paul-Émile Leblanc.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Mon nom est Paul-Émile Leblanc et je suis le candidat PSA pour Clark-Bay. Il n'y a pas de doute que moi, on va parler plus de mon expérience personnelle, à cause que moi, ça fait dans mes 20 ans à travailler dans la région de Clare avec la caisse populaire de Clare. Je vais démontrer que nous travaillons très bien avec toute la société, incluant le monde qui a des besoins spéciaux. So there's no doubt in my work in the last 20 years, I've done a lot of work with people with special needs. So I'm going to let my personal actions dictate how you will judge me on this issue. I'm a father of 3, and I've lived here most of my life except for 5 years. Il y a des programmes qui vont travailler très fort à la caisse, c'est le programme de Medegan Capsite. Le Medegan Capsite a été en existence pour à peu près 12 ans, à peu près, Robichaud, la présidente, et ici, à partir de me corriger, mais je crois que c'est à l'entour de 12 ans. Puis on a travaillé très fort pour faire sûr que le site était accessible à du monde avec des besoins spéciaux, avec l'équipement, l'officiel, et puis avec et puis de l'équipement. So we worked very hard at the Medegan Capsite to ensure that persons with disabilities were able to use the equipment. We made sure that we had specialized equipment, and this was long before somebody decided to mandate that it should be done. We were leaders in the Capsite, and we got a lot of funding from government over the years from various levels to help us deliver those services. Another organization we've supported quite well over the last 20 years is L'Atelier de Clare. You know, with selling of their artwork during Christmas, or their art crafts and artwork, through many projects, consultations with management and staff and board volunteers to ensure that, you know, that their business plans, you know, that they wanted advice on many projects, and our doors were always open.
1 minute.
Okay. And another one is le transport de Clare, avec comme la présidence avec le Chambre de commerce de Clare et avec le travail avec la caisse. J'ai démontré que je pouvais travailler avec le transport. On était un des premiers commanditaires du transport quand le transport a commencé. And we feel that the Transport de Clare is very important and a very integral part of our community. And now that all of Clare Digby has access to the Transport de Clare, it's very important that we continue with this. So I'll leave my personal actions speak for themselves with my record over the last 20 years of working with persons with disabilities.
Thank you, Paul-Émile Leblanc. Merci, Paul-Émile. Our third candidate tonight, Gordon Wilson. Gordon, go.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. C'est un bon jour pour moi aujourd'hui. J'étudie à l'Université Sainte-Anne pour 6 semaines et l'Université Sainte-Anne est très spéciale pour moi. Je n'ai pas bilingue, mais je n'ai pas bilingue. So, good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's a special day for me today. I studied at the University Sainte-Anne for six weeks and did the French immersion here, and being back in the school is very special for me, and I thank you all for coming today. I just want to talk briefly about myself, who I am. I'm 57 years old, born a little while ago. I'm married for 37 years, and 3 children, 2 grandchildren. I've spent most of my career working for the province of Nova Scotia. I was employed with the Department of Natural Resources for 30 years. I spent most of my time traveling the roads and the back roads of many of the parts of this county, this riding. And my last 7 years I've been with the municipality of the District of Digby as their Deputy CAO. I have to say that the last 7 years has probably been the most rewarding for me, as far as engaging communities and learning what makes things tick. I'm very proud to say that I've worked very closely with the town of Digby, the municipality of Clare, and the municipality of Digby in serving the people of our communities. I've gained very valuable information on what makes things tick here, and I think as an MLA that's extremely important, and I'm hoping that everything that I have learned and everything that I will continue to learn, I'll be able to serve you and go forward as a good MLA. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. I'll ask Hélène to translate. I should have asked it earlier, but what Paul-Émile's comments were.
He did repeat everything.
Okay. He repeated everything in English, so anything he said in French, he repeated it right back in English, okay? Merci, Paul-Émile. Merci, Gordon. Merci, Dean. Next, we'll get started with the questions that were issued ahead of time to the candidates. And as I said, we sent out a package of materials, so it gave the candidates an opportunity to become familiarized with the issues at hand and understand the issues as persons with disabilities. Many who do not have a voice need to ask the right questions to the right politicians. And I'll ask Trudy just to give a preamble of the issue. And the first one is the UN Charter of Rights.
Hello. I felt that the opportunity to have this as an awareness-raising session was so great that I decided that I would write preambles to every question so that all of you that aren't too familiar with the issues would know more about it when you leave here this evening. Anyway, I'm going to start. The UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. In 2010, with full support of the Government of Nova Scotia, Canada ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Signers of this international agreement are required to, quote, promote, protect, and ensure the full enjoyment of human rights by persons with disabilities, including effective accessibility and inclusion in society, freedom from discrimination, and the freedom to make their own choices about living arrangements and other needs. Motivated by the Convention, jurisdictions all across Canada are changing their approach and methods in favor of a more person-centered, inclusive, and non-institutional model of care for persons with disabilities. The current movement in Nova Scotia to transform service delivery reflects that intention and is not owned by any political party, but by the people of Nova Scotia. It should be actively pursued, regardless of which party wins this election.
Okay, 3 candidates. The question. What is your party's position with respect to Nova Scotia's responsibility to implement the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities? For instance, will your party consult with the disability community, families, and service providers to develop an action plan for implementation? Quelle est la position de votre parti sur la Convention des Nations Unies pour les droits des personnes avec des déficiences? Par exemple, seriez-vous prêt à consulter auprès des communautés, des familles et des agences pour développer et implanter un plan d'action? We'll ask the number one candidate, the first candidate tonight, Dean Kenley. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Once again, thank you. The NDP certainly supports the UN Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. There are many firsts in the province relating to that was implemented by the NDP government. In 2009, when taking portfolio, the Minister of Community Service was appalled at the neglect that had been shown to the people with special needs in the province for decades. The NDP has been committed and has already made changes and plan to make many more services to special needs people. In many areas, the NDP have been transforming the service of persons in needs within the department itself. We've created a framework to facilitate the service to persons with disabilities. They want all the departments to consider people in need when making a decision. They will empower them through policy changes to enable our departments to make the necessary changes at all levels and avoid delays in the delivery of the service. This framework policy will enable all departments to consider the needs of disabled people when making our decisions. This will require cultural change because for decades, it is not the way the system has worked under other governments. We are implementing a new system to fill the gaps. We want the system to move from a reactive process to a proactive system. For the first time in the history of the province, we have brought people together to work on this. Advocacy groups, people have been working towards community option living, people who work in residential community living. Our Premier has moved away from institutionalizing special needs people. There is constant changing and requirements going on with the disability and special needs, and our government intends to work in parallel with all groups to make the change appropriately needed in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Dean. Paul Emile? Go.
Il n'y a pas de doute qu'on supporte ça complètement. We do support it completely. There's no doubt that it's very important that everybody in our society is included and everybody has access to all services. Moi, quand j'étais jeune, quand j'étais au collège à St. Mary's dans 1978, j'ai rencontré un gars, Clarendon Robichaud. Et puis, on va vous dire, quand j'ai rencontré Clarendon, moi, j'avais aucune idée dans 1979, quoi c'était avec les barrières que le monde avec des besoins spéciaux avait. So I met Clarendon back in '79, and we were roommates at St. Mary's University. And I never, I never understood what barriers that people with disability had. And at that time, I learned firsthand what Clarendon went through to try to orient people or to train people into having, accessibility to buildings. We had a lot of issues back then with accessibilities. So when I came to Caisse Populaire de Clare, one of the first things we did was we put automated door openers on all our buildings because it was very important that that people that could access the building could come in. But that's just a small part of what can be done. The whole community has to come together, including government, private sector, and individuals, in order to make sure that we're an inclusive society. There's no doubt that in our platform, we do want to extend the tuition support program, for people with special needs to have access to education, because education is paramount in getting people to be able to access, education services, jobs, and other services that might be available. So it's very important that we have this information available. Moi-même, j'ai été orienté d'une très jeune de ma jeunesse, de faire sûr d'avoir ces services disponibles. So as your MLA, I would certainly work and continue to work like I've demonstrated in the last 20 years or 30 years of my career to people persons with disabilities to ensure that they have access to all these programs. Thank you.
Merci, Paul-Emile. Thank you, Paul-Emile. Gordon?
Firstly, what is the UNCRPD? So it's an international human rights treaty of the UN intended to protect the rights and dignity of persons with disabilities. Parties to the convention are required to promote, protect, and ensure the full enjoyment of human rights by persons with disabilities and ensure that they enjoy full equality under the law. Now, I'd like to point out that there's a lot of, there is an opting out clause in that. So that's important to know. But the intent is, and this is what the Liberals certainly recognize, is that in good faith, we're going to accept the responsibility of that document. So this convention has served as a major catalyst in the global movement from viewing persons with disabilities as objects of charity, medical treatment, and social protection, to viewing them as full and equal members of society with human rights. And out of that, we developed a roadmap. A roadmap is available. It's a roadmap for transforming the Nova Scotia Services to Persons with Disabilities program. Canada, in partnership with provinces, signed the convention back in March 2010. So, to answer the question directly, yes. When a country ratifies a convention in partnership with provinces, both levels of government accept the responsibility to implement the articles. Both levels of governments are duty bearers also, important to know. In Canada, 14.3% of Canadians live with a disability. In Nova Scotia, 21%. Yes, we will include the disability community in the development of an action plan. There is a motto used within the disability community which states, "Nothing about us without us." A Liberal government will respect this motto. Our Liberal platform, this document here, speaks clearly to Article 9 within the Convention. We have committed to the development of accessible legislation, and I'll read, also, to create a more accessible Nova Scotia for persons with disabilities by appointing an accessible advisory committee with a mandate and strict timeline to develop accessible legislation for Nova Scotia. And I'm very proud of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. Merci beaucoup. Before I get to the next question, I just wanted to say that cette programme ce soir a été diffusé par SIFA. Merci Emile Bin et son équipe. This evening's events are being on direct by SIFA, Radio SIFA tonight. So thank you, SIFA. Also want to say thank you to University of St. Anne for allowing us to use this South Med. Next, we'll move into the theme of support services. Trudy?
Nova Scotia spends close to $1 billion annually to provide services to persons with disabilities. But the system that administers these programs is outdated, inflexible, and unable to fulfill the complex health care and support needs of clients and their caregivers. Program directors and service providers are doing their best with limited resources, but often operate in crisis mode. Nearly 1,000 people remain on waiting lists for services, and more than 60% of available public funding is still being directed to residential institutions, even though those outcomes have been less than satisfactory. Two initiatives, Putting People First and Transforming Services to People with Disabilities, have emerged from extensive consultation with clients, family members, service providers, and government. Guided by the UN Convention, a strategic roadmap has been developed to restructure the system to one that offers